This is something that was overtly sexual. They clearly said all ages welcome. And now apparently the left is gaslighting me into thinking that I'm somehow the crazy one for having a problem with this. Yeah, I mean, I believe, Tucker, that it's a more sinister attempt by the left to, they want this radical country. The only way that they can achieve that is through complete chaos and confusion. And what is the best way to confuse children? Confuse them about their sexuality, confuse them about their gender, expose them to things that their little brains are not ready for yet. That is how they are confusing children. It is leading to chaos. And Big Daddy government, of course, can be there to pick us all up and take care of us at the end of it.
Okay, the only person that looks truly confused there is Tucker Carlson because of the blank slack-jawed stare. And for once, I sort of get it. She's making no sense. That is Sara Gonzalez, who has set up this Texas family project to hound drag queens and probably end up getting someone beaten or killed. That's a flash forward. We'll get to that in a couple of months. And we will be talking about what this organization is planning to do. But I want to just briefly respond to what she was actually saying there. And it's largely, she was brought on to say it because it's what Tucker Carlson says every day, Miranda, that this is an intentional thing, that these drag shows happen. And by the way, they just started happening. They haven't been going on for literally decades or whatever. They just started happening as part of an organized attempt by they to confuse America's kids about their sexuality and identity for reasons that cannot be explained and will never be explained. I don't understand it, but Miranda, what do you make of this argument used by the right against drag queens?
I think there's so much to unpack in this story that I'm tempted to just throw away the whole suitcase, but it's our job to break it down. And the concept of gender, kids are aware of it because when they're born, we designate them a gender. And it's, guess what? They're saying it's made up. They made up transgender. They made up drag. It's all made up. Gender is a made up concept by humans. Kids are already aware of gender. They're aware that they are either labeled a boy or a girl. So all we're doing by making them aware that there are multiple genders or that genders can change and they're fluid is saying, I understand that you are going to feel either that you match with the gender you've been assigned or you don't, and it's okay to talk about it and it's okay to ask questions and it's okay that you feel that way. Trans kids exist, gay kids exist, whether you teach them about this or not. And so the only reason they're confused is because you don't allow them to talk about it and you don't allow it to be taught in schools. I also love that this is the radical future that leftists want, and it's a drag queen having a good time. I'm like, you're right, that is the radical future that I want as a leftist. That looks like a great time. There's literally nothing that drag queens are doing to attack children's innocence. They're just dressing up and having a good time.
Yeah. And what would be the motivation? I know. They'll say the motivation is something, George Soros, something, the end of democracy or whatever. No, I don't. I want drag queens to be able to perform without being harassed or murdered. And then aside from that, they don't really affect me on a daily basis, except if I'm at a drag performance. But outside of that, it really doesn't have an effect on my life. I certainly don't want to weaponize them in some sort of global culture war. Who would want that? That's crazy. Like, honestly, that's crazier than QAnon. I get that like they have like nice sharp cameras or whatever, and he's wearing a suit, but that is the sort of thing that you could find scrawled in feces in a bathroom. That's how crazy this theory is. Nobody's interested in this confusion. And by the way, like, it's so weird the way that they think about sexuality and gender identity, that they really think that someone can be tricked into changing in these ways. That's impossible. That can't happen. If something makes you wonder or whatever if you're gay or if your gender identity should be changed or something, then I would argue that needed to happen because that was going to happen. It can't happen by accident. I was never, as a kid, like for 2 months, really wondering if I was gay because that's not how that works, okay? And if you are wondering that, having culture try to avoid that by shoving everything into the shadows does not produce a happier, more satisfied, better person. it only puts off a whole lot of problems that they don't want to acknowledge. So the whole thing is sick and dehumanizing and has already claimed lives. It will claim more. The question is how many, and they're trying to maximize it.
Yeah, absolutely. They think it's part of the gay agenda, and it's an agenda to turn everyone trans and or gay, which, like you said, that's impossible. People are gay or they're not, and they're trans or they're not. And they are that way whether you educate them about it or not. So if you get right, if you're questioning, if you're thinking, which I think is a healthy thing for anyone to do, you can question your gender identity and come out the other side saying, no, I think this is correct. I think I am cis, and that's fine. But there's nothing wrong with questioning and going through that process, and you're going to come out the other side less confused and more confident. And if we create a support system, more supported. There's no agenda. An agenda is impossible because you can't change who people are. You can accept them for who they are and offer them support.
Yeah, and it's just it is, as we talk about, it's the Karenization of everything. It's the belief that we cannot just let people be satisfied. We cannot let people be happy and live their own lives. The fact that it has no effect on us whatsoever should not be an impediment to us making it our whole deal. And that, look, some of them I think are actually weirdos enough that that's actually how they think. And it really does bother them. Thousands of miles away, there's a drag queen performing that they're never gonna meet. That really does bother them. There are creeps like that. But then there's people like Tucker Carlson, who are also weirdos, but are using it. They are just using it to achieve their actual policy goals. And so it is sick to honestly advocate for something that you know will result in continued brutalization and murder. But it's like almost worse when you're just using that as a tool because you don't want your taxes to go up someday or something like that. The fact that you would be willing to see people killed so that you could be pointlessly wealthier. Like you have more money than you're ever gonna use, you just have to have a little bit more. It's just sick.
For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.